About the house back, right? Yeah. Totally. Now, another superintendent just texted, won't be meeting with tomorrow because his wife is in the hospital, diabetic. I know, right? I'm like, what are the chances that it's too? Yeah. No, I didn't get, like, it was a quick text, she's in ICU because I don't think she knew. Oh, wow. And I don't know what D, there was D initial, she's in something D. So. Yep. Yep. It got presented today on the next one. It's approved. But it went on brought up tonight. So the next one is for 2 questions. I'm tired, but yes, it's good. I'm just so tired. I don't think January. Yeah, I have everything. Still everything.
It didn't last all that long, maybe a month, maybe?
Yeah. We went from mother, then we went out, and I had my brother-in-law all aboard. There was 2 orders of mussels and 2 orders of spicy. And I was like, he's like, give me the pepper. Pop the pepper in. Okay. Yeah. Wow. Nothing.
What did you get?
The night of the board meeting, I tested positive.
And your brother, like, what was that?
It's because of your diet, or most of wine, we seem to follow the same protocol. We have the infection at the same time. She was the same time. So her doctor did prescribe it. Mine, I called him and he was like, just vitamin, he gave out specific dosages of C, D, and zinc. And that's it. It's only one. Okay. We're not going to do anything today. I thought it was panicking because she and her husband get together by David on Monday or Sunday. So he did that. That's where we got it.
They're worried because
No, Mary. How are you?
Oh, good. You go to London? I have to test, go out, come back in, I have to test.
Barbados, they just have to test it.
What is she telling you?
Hello?
Oh, okay,
Well,
we're
they could buy it.
on that last Friday.
So they don't have the test coming back.
Put it there, you put it in the middle, I don't care.
All right. This where it's.
Okay.
I don't think I have enough. 1, 2, 3,
I don't
4, 5,
need
6,
one.
I need 3, 2 more. No, 4 more. Yep.
We could all use a little zen. Right?
Hello.
When you go to California, you might come there all year. Okay.
I need 1 more. Okay. I talked to her prior to meeting with Nancy and Laura for the appeal for her transfer. And we agreed, and she said whatever you can do to help her understand if you truly believe this is for college. So that backfired because I said, so we can be more informed, and I took that opportunity to really be informal and give you these are all reasons. Wait a minute, that's not what.
That's not the informal,
Yeah.
because that's a whole separate thing, that wasn't on the agenda, okay.
Well,
So
that's
you want to
okay,
speak
I
to-
still go through.
I mean,
Well, just because I don't know, so I made a recommendation, and I said, I should, like, all I kept repeating is the same thing. You are telling me things that I've never heard in 4 said the three of you then need to meet with them because otherwise it's going to continue whatever your dissatisfaction is. Yeah. Yep. 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 Yeah. Yep. That's what it was. That's what it was. I know, and of course, I spent 2 hours at the airport and 2 hours she spent with me. I was there. She was here. So yeah, no big deal. If I thought it was that sensitive, I would tell you it was not sensitive. But that's what it was about. It was just uncomfortable. Not that they took it, that they brought it up. I mean, I supervised the oldest child center supervisors. Those are very old. I supervised them for a good 10 years. And when you're when I'm really supervised, like, so yeah, so and those people are still here. So it's a little bit of a different relationship, and they say more, but it's more complicated for them. So yep, yep.
You don't mind being next to me? I don't got to.
Yeah, I can't wait. As soon as my son and I move in, we're talking tomorrow. Yeah.
Oh boy. Oh boy. The last thing we need is more issues. It's like, it happens. It does. It does. That's it.
So I'm gonna tell him the same thing.
Hi. Hey.
Hey, how's it going? Sure. What? No, not the camera. No. Live, but not camera live. Yeah, I tested already. Everything's good. No, they can't hear anything. Yep.
I'd like to call this meeting to order. The mission of the Freehold Township School District is to honor and support every learner every day on the journey to become curious and engaged members of a diverse global community. A notice listing the time, date, and place of this meeting was posted on the public bulletin board of all Freehold Township schools, on the entrance door to the administrative offices of the Board of Education, on the district website at the office of the Freehold Township clerk, published in the Asbury Park Press on January 7th, 2022, and sent to the news transcript on January 5th, 2022. I'd like to invite you to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Ms. Costanza? Mrs. Coslino? Mr. Gargiulo? Here. Mrs. O'Sullivan?
Present.
Mrs. Patton?
Present.
Mrs. Spellman?
Here.
Mrs. Benatoli?
Here.
Mr. Amoroso? Present. Mrs. Lambert?
Here.
We have a quorum.
That's what we were missing. I just didn't see the chair.
Yeah.
Yeah. Threw me off. That's okay. I'd like a motion to approve the minutes from the regular meeting of April 26th, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
All right.
I'd like a motion to approve the minutes from the executive session meeting from April 26th, 2022. Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Okay. Communications.
The only communication we have this evening is enrollment. March of 2022, we had 3,503 students. April of 2022, we had the exact same number, 3,503, compared to April of 2021 when we had 3,619, and that is all.
Okay. For president's remarks, I'm going to keep them brief so that we can combine them with old business and new business toward the end of the meeting. I just wanted to thank my fellow board members who were in contract negotiations. They've been working really hard. We'll discuss that later. I also wanted to thank our administrators and our teachers. We are in the home stretch, and it is always this time of year that there is a lot going on. At the same time that they have a lot going on, the students start to get a little crazy. So I know, spring is in the air. I want to thank you all for your dedication and your service, and wish you luck for the next month as we're in the home stretch. I also wanted to thank my fellow board members, Ms. Bendatoli, Ms. Costanza, Ms. Cosolino, on getting the roundtable up and running, and flyers went out, and Kerry can give an update on that. You can do that now if you want. We'll just get to that. Yeah.
I think registration ends for next Tuesday's event on Thursday.
Okay.
And we have pretty decent turnout so far. They're registering for both, so I'm gonna, once registration closes for the one, we'll just, have an idea of how many people. And like I said, we can split it up. We don't wanna have too many at one time. We're using West Freehold School, so next Tuesday from, I think, 7 to 8:30. So, we're looking forward to,
Okay.
And then the online one will be the following Monday.
Okay.
I don't think we have as many registrations for that, but that one, registration doesn't end until next week, because we're having it a couple days before, so we can, get the information out to everybody.
Right.
That's gonna
And as you know, those that probably are registering are keeping track of the news. There's something in the news every day, legislative, other districts. So yes, we'll hear it all at the roundtables. Okay. With that, I will move on to the administrative report.
I have two things for new business. I'll leave it for there. So all I have this evening for the administrative report is the HIB report, and as Mrs. Lambert shared, as we hit the spring, we see an increase in incidents of violations of code of conduct and harassment, intimidation, and bullying. Is 7 reports received since the last meeting. 6 were confirmed. 1 was unfounded. This actually would be a good time to share with the public. I did share with the board already in the update that after a meeting that we had here, there were some constructive comments regarding an identified need to potentially look at more supports for those students identified as victims of harassment, intimidation, and bullying, especially if they are repetitive victims of harassment, intimidation, and bullying. We're expanding. I led a meeting with various administrators and our SAC, our district SAC, Courtney Colford, and Lena, our supervisor of educational services, and Courtney, as our student assistance coordinator, are going to lead a committee of staff members to work on developing a list of supports and also when those supports should be offered depending on one-time victim, the supports that could be in place, and additionally, looking at the offender component and trying to do something that we had the intent to do, and then, like everything else, COVID impacted our operation. Going back to looking at that restorative justice component, not just the punitive. So not only giving a consequence, but learning from that restorative piece of what the violation was and learning from that violation. And we are also, subsequently, we have had a significant increase in the number of suspensions coming in for violations of the student code of conduct. And they're not questionable suspensions either, that, they're clear suspensions coming over. So we are also, and this was identified months ago, I am leading a committee that will be have administrators, one middle, one elementary, and representatives from the FTEA to evaluate not the student code of conduct policy and regulation, that is the board's role, but within the regulation, there is this disciplinary chart, and it's very broad and generic. Diane was assistant principal at Barklow. I was principal at Katina, and two teachers who are retired, Barbara Trzynski, two seventh grade Eisenhower teachers, Barbara Trzynski and Tracy Ospel, worked with the four of us, took a day and developed that about 18 years ago. So we will never propose something that's prescriptive, if then, because we believe that you need to evaluate every circumstance, the child and the circumstances surrounding the incident.
Correct.
But we will give some guidelines with specific violations of the code of conduct and the potential punitive measures that come from that, and maybe restorative measures as well. And our goal for both committees is for next school year to have those things in place. But it will be the code of conduct component, because it's part of the regulation. It will go through, after we complete the work, it will have to be reviewed by the policy committee and then recommended to the board as a whole.
So you'll do the work, it'll go to the policy committee of the board, then to the board as a whole.
Yes.
Okay.
And then the committee that Courtney and Lena are doing, are we gonna get information on what they?
Absolutely. We'll report back to the board. I think it's only appropriate that it was recommended by the board, and justifiably, I think it's important for us to report back on what we come up with.
Thank you.
Maybe they'll do a presentation.
Yeah,
You know,
that'd be great.
That would be
Mhm.
wonderful.
Yep.
Okay. Is that all you have?
I do.
Okay, this would be the first opportunity. Oh, sorry. This would be the first opportunity for public participation. If anyone wishes to address the board on any item that is on the agenda this evening, please come up, write your name and address on the sign-in sheet, and state your name for the record. Statements are limited to 3 minutes and should not be abusive, obscene, or defamatory in nature. If you'd like to address the board on an item not on the agenda, there's a second opportunity for public participation. Would anyone like to address the board on any agenda items? Nope. Okay, seeing nobody, we'll move on to the Personnel Committee. Ms. Tolman?
Hi, the Personnel Committee met tonight. Present were myself, Mrs. Lambert, Mrs. Vendatoli, Dr. Brethauer, and Mr. Dickstein. We discussed all of the items on the agenda, and I would like to move the following items. Number 3, retirement as listed. Resignation as listed. Renewal of non-tenured professional staff as listed. Stipend teacher assistants as listed. Leaves of absence as listed. Transfer of assignment as listed. Change of assignment as listed. ESY staff as listed. PTO honorarium as listed. unpaid days as listed, curriculum committee as listed, grant salary updated as listed, elementary task teams updated as listed, job description for supervisor of instruction as listed, certified substitutes as listed, non-certified substitutes as listed, substitute custodian rate as listed, and rescind substitute employment as listed.
Anybody have any questions?
I just want to point out, we put in bold when we make a change after the agenda was released on Friday. We bold anything that was changed after the agenda was released on Friday. And one item that I asked to be put on that I had to adjust is number 15, the maximum amount of hours we changed from 2. You'll see that there. We increased it by 4 hours. It's the elementary task teams.
Oh.
Yep. It was 195 or 6. 185 or 6, and it went up to 190.
Roll call?
Mrs. Stanza? Yes.
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 Yes, I abstain on 5-84 and 10-84.
Spelman?
Yes?
Ms. Venturi?
Yes.
Mr. Amoroso?
Yes.
Ms. Lambert?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Curriculum and policy. Thank you, Mrs. Lambert. The Freehold Township Board of Ed Curriculum Committee met this evening, May 10th. Turn this on. All right.
You put it in front of you.
The curriculum committee met this evening at 6:45 p.m. Present were Ms. Montgomery, Mr. Gargiulo, and myself. We reviewed all items on the agenda and Ms. Montgomery clarified and gave us the opportunity to ask questions. Ms. Montgomery reviewed this preliminary spring map and iReady data with a public presentation plan for the late May meeting. We went over job description revisions. The supervisor instruction is on for tonight, and they're drafting a teacher one as well. We discussed the registrar stipend position to centralize the process for student registration. We talked about technology salaries to do a market rate adjustment, EAB updates, and at the end we talked about. I think that's it. Did I cover everything?
You got it.
Okay. And I'd also like to move item 3, home instruction, and item 4, course reimbursement.
Any questions?
I just have a question about the registrar. Of like, there been hours set or a person picked or nothing?
No, I think.
And I forgot to
It's
mention.
basically,
I don't want to misspeak. I don't think it's.
It's a stipended position. It's not a full-time position.
Okay.
So in response to some concerns that you all have expressed in the last few years, we are, Bob and I created a stipend that will mirror the lead nurse or the co-curricular stipend. In that same range of about $12,000 to do everything and all things related to registration, staggering the day, being available to parents after hours on weekends and that sort of thing.
Any other questions? Can I have a second?
second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 And I would like to abstain on item, I think it was 4 in that section.
Okay.
With a big section.
Yeah.
Right? One of those two things that.
Finance, facilities, and transportation, Joe Sullivan.
All right, we met as a committee, and the following people were in attendance: Mr. DeVita, Ms. Williams, Mr. Amoroso, Mrs. Costanza, and myself. We discussed staffing, which the committee discussed several staffing positions that will be issued by HR. construction projects, which are HVACs for West Freehold and roofs for Laura Donovan School. We discussed that the motion on the agenda tonight will begin the bid specs for replacing the existing HVAC units at West Freehold and to replace the existing roof at Laura Donovan School. There will also be an alternative bid to replace the flat roof at West Freehold School. We discussed the budget and some items for next year, and then we reviewed the agenda items. I would like to move number 3, certifications, as listed. Number 4, secretary treasurer reports, as listed. Bills and claims, thank you, Kerry, for reviewing the bills and claims. That's always a nice present. For $1,750,739.37. I'd like to move number 6, travel and related expenses, as listed. Number 7, transfers, as listed. Number 8, donations, as listed. Number 9, personnel, disposal, as listed. Number 10, disposal of surplus property, as listed. Number 11, homebound instruction services, as listed. Number 12, consultant services, as listed. Number 13, consultant services ratified, as listed. Number 14, specialized evaluations and services, as listed. Number 15, out-of-district contract, as listed. Number 16, professional services agreement, roofing at multiple schools, as listed. Number 17, professional service agreements, the HVAC at West Freehold Elementary School, as listed. Number 18, withdrawal from capital reserve account, as listed. And that is it.
Does anybody have any questions?
I've seen church groups buy the buses. I've seen mechanics of places buy the buses. I've seen. I just saw a bus.
Partridge.
Down at Tuckahoe at the sod farm.
What was
They have
this
a couple
song?
buses down there that they transport the workers all across the
They turn
farm.
them into houses.
Not much.
Only in Tennessee.
No.
Yes,
Only in
I think
they do that.
4 years ago, we had a group of international buses
Come on,
that
get
were only in their 8th year, and they
Partridge
were
family.
maintenance nightmares, and we sold them early. They've been paid off already, and
The round circle type thing, they throw a ball at it. Oh, it's not.
We lost internet sound, so right now, the only folks that can hear us
In the room? Okay. All right. Uh,
it's in.
okay.
Why did we do it last time?
All right.
By accident.
All right. Well, I'm glad then that we gave our roundtable update early. Old business, new business. I'm going to turn this over first to, is it you or Diane who's going to discuss the change in days?
The calendar?
Yeah.
Me. I have
Yep.
two things.
Okay.
First is my, just so you know, it is time for my evaluation, but I am first, so I have to populate the district goal, the two district goals, and then each of the standards, and then once I submit those, I believe you each get an email automatically that says it's your turn to go in, and then I think what are the two June agendas, whatever Mrs. Lambert would prefer, but you have to go into closed session to discuss it multiple times, so we meet the CUSAC requirement before June 30th. So I will have that done before the next board meeting.
Okay.
And then the calendar. So we met as a central office team this morning, and as we were trying to, believe it or not, look at the first 2 days of school with staff, we recognized that we need, for district purposes, about a half to 3/4 of one of the 2 days that staff are back, and that doesn't work for all the requirements of opening a school for our building administrators to work with their staff. Collaboration regarding the students, and it doesn't work. So we discussed and talked to each committee this evening about reevaluating the calendar and adding Tuesday, September, is it the 6th, as a third staff day, thereby closing on Columbus Day for everybody and extending the school year by 1 day, which would be June 23rd, with 3 snow days built in. Honestly, we don't think we would be able to have everything that we are obligated to do prior to students coming in done. So and then going forward, so once we make that change going forward, our practice will be 3 staff days prior to the first day of school, always.
Right.
Regardless of what, because that's the thing. And just comparative purposes, the high school district, the Tuesday that we were originally starting, that is freshman orientation. All students go back Wednesday, so we would have the same first day as the high school as well.
So the recap is really from the parent perspective, the students will be starting school 1 day later.
Mm-hmm.
And from the teacher perspective, they will also be off on Columbus Day.
Correct.
The district will be closed.
And if there's no feedback from the board moving not to do that, then at the next meeting it'll be on for approval. Calendar revision.
Any questions or comments on that?
Nothing on Columbus Day.
Nothing.
The district will be closed completely on Columbus Day.
So no PD.
No PD. That was what I wasn't.
It's not, it's like Indigenous Peoples' Day now. No, it is. I think they've changed the name.
I'll make sure before I put it on
Yeah.
that I have the correct
Has a
name.
new name.
Okay.
Mhm.
I'll make sure I have it on properly when we put it on.
Care personally, but okay, so we discussed also a new business hour roundtable. Graduations. I know, Neil, you asked me, do board members go to all? Yes, if you can. If you, if,
That's what I'm saying.
yes, we
Try to go.
yes, we go to the graduations. It's nice. Typically, last year was different. We were outside, and that was nice as well. This year we're back inside, and we sit through both.
The after I sent the letter out for the last day of school, the middle school administrators quickly advertised their days, their graduation days and times. So it's June 20th, Eisenhower at 3:00, Barklow at 6:00, and typically we stay and have dinner in between those two ceremonies. We need time to give to the students the first school for pictures and to leave, and then the next school to come.
So we usually go in the art room and eat.
That's what we do.
That's what we do. Yeah, fancy. It's a fancy meal in the art room. Okay. That is all I have. Any other questions from anybody on anything? Old, new, anything? Nope. Okay. This would be the second opportunity for public participation. If you'd like to address the board on any item related to the district, it's please write your name and address on the sign-in sheet. State your name for the record. Statements are limited to 3 minutes and shouldn't be abusive, obscene, or defamatory. Anyone like to address the board on anything? Hi.
My name is Adriana Leone, and I'm a parent. Hold on one second. Thank you. Sure. Okay. I'm a parent of a middle schooler at Barkalow and 2 elementary children at Marshall Erickson. I had a question regarding what the district's policy is for cell phone usage in restrooms and locker rooms.
Our expectation, our guideline is that cell phones are supposed to be off and in lockers during the school day.
Okay. And if they're not?
If we're made aware of it, we rarely confiscate the phone for a number of reasons, but we would respond with a notification to parents and discipline.
Okay, so my son was involved in an incident in the restroom where he was in a stall doing his business, and another child decided to use their cell phone under the stall. I did not receive a phone call, nor do I believe that you were notified of the situation from Barkala. And I'm a little worried since we do live in a social media world, and I think policies need to be put in place for situations as such.
I will make time tomorrow to call you
Please.
and follow up.
Yes, I would
Get more
really appreciate
specifics.
that
Mhm.
because I think it's something that the district as a whole needs to review, not just regarding my particular incident, but
Sure.
every student.
Mhm.
Okay, I appreciate it.
I will
Thank you.
contact you tomorrow and follow up.
Should I leave my number here?
I'll look it up in Genesis.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you.
Question, because I heard that Eisenhower is allowed to have his cell phone
On them?
on them.
Mm-mm. During COVID, we had no space. So during COVID, kids didn't have lockers, so they had them on them. Going back into this year, we reset the expectation. It's not, we are having difficulty enforcing it.
Is that something that we're gonna look at with the code of conduct?
It's in there. It's difficult to enforce because
sometimes it's their
It's
parents calling them and texting them.
concealed.
So there's a lot, there's
like
a
you
lot of
can't, you don't
layers
see
here.
it necessarily.
Well, if it was in the lockers.
I'm not, again, we teach the expectations. However, there are some parents who expect their children to carry their phones all the time. So I have personally had to have conversations that there might not be agreement with and might be contradictory language about how and the expectations are executed during the school day. So
Right,
it's a
so
little
we're
layered,
really probably
certainly
gonna
worth
have to be very
discussion.
clear in how we
Well, I think
address
if this is we'll find out if how pervasive this issue is.
Right.
And if it is a pervasive issue,
I
then we will
I
address
think
it. We'll look at it in that code of conduct.
We spoke about it. I was contacted by a special education parent concerned because they heard that this had been an issue. And I admittedly said none of this was brought to the board level yet. This is the first that we know. And whether the child always had the option to use the private bathroom, whether you want to call it the single-use bathroom, the gender-neutral bathroom, whatever, we call it in each building, it's a single-use bathroom. And Neil said, of course, the child would always have the opportunity to use that bathroom. But I don't think that message was made clear at the parent level either. But we can't have a line going around the building for that either. So we have to figure, we probably have work to do on this.
I mean, I
That's the
understand
takeaway.
parents wanting their kids at home, but we have to draw the line at bringing them into a restroom or a locker.
Oh,
The
agreed,
expectation
but
is
putting-
lockers, and I should say I also do believe that we do allow them at lunch. but I would need to follow up on that. And regardless of what it is now, going into this planning time where we're going to be working on the code of conduct, we'll make sure that we address
Right,
it in there.
right.
Is it possible, like, in the future, and I know this is an expensive proposition, but it seems that if you go into public restrooms these days, what you do when you go into a women's room or men's room, you have like a bank of doors and they are private. You know what I mean? Where you can't put something underneath. It's like a full door that closes.
Yeah.
Like, could we ever move in that direction in the future? I know it's expensive, but like, is there anything legally prohibiting us?
Yeah, but
I don't know.
You like to have at the country clubs?
Well, yeah, it's a
Brilliant idea.
What about all the plexiglass we had to buy during COVID? Can we line them? Sorry.
I've never seen them in the school, but I just don't know if they meet
Yeah, I've
code.
never seen them.
I don't know code either, because if someone gets. They probably don't.
Yeah.
Floor to ceiling, I would imagine.
They're,
I mean,
right.
Isn't it just simple just to speak with their parents and tell them our expectations, and tell them their kids can't be using their cell phone?
One would think.
You're like, one would think, I'm like, no, it's not simple.
No.
Because it's like an append, it's like part of,
It's a lot of layers.
it's layers, it's layers.
And
It's like talking about bathroom.
there's also a lot of research that shows that it's truly like it's a true
I
addiction.
don't know if you can have
Like
doors then.
to be separated from your phone. We should.
That's a problem in and of itself.
Well, we will revisit the fact that our expectation of cell phones is that they remain in their lockers. In elementary schools, they belong in their backpacks. In this, oh yeah, they stay in the backpacks, middle in the lockers. We will look at our responses to when we have cell phone violations. They are concealed really well, so we don't always know. And in this particular instance, more specific follow-up regarding how it was used as well.
Exactly, yeah. Okay. Would anybody else like to address the board on any issue? Okay. Seeing none, going to make a motion to go into executive session. May I have a second? Okay. Whereas pursuant to NJSA 10-412B, the Board of Education may exclude the public from that portion of a public meeting at which the board discusses any of the matters described at NJSA 10-412B 1 through 9. Now therefore be it resolved that in accordance with the provisions of the Open Public Meeting Act, the Board of Education shall conduct a closed session pursuant to the personnel and legal exceptions prescribed by NJSA 10-412 for the purpose of discussing pending or anticipated contract negotiations with the FTEA and the TWU. It is anticipated that the length of time of this executive session will be 60 minutes and that action will not be taken in public after the executive session. Be it further resolved that said discussion may be disclosed to the public when reasons for discussing and acting upon it in closed session no longer exist. So for those of you who'd like to wait for the conclusion of the meeting, we will go into executive session, come back into public merely to adjourn. For those of you wishing to go home, I thank you for coming this evening and your continued involvement. We'll take a short 5-minute break and then we'll go into executive session.
I just need 2 or 3.